The notion that the science on climate change is a lie to manipulate Christians is a misleading and unsubstantiated claim. This argument is often rooted in misinformation and a lack of understanding of the scientific consensus on climate change. The overwhelming majority of climate scientists agree that human activities, particularly the emission of greenhouse gases from burning fossil fuels, are significantly contributing to the rise in global temperatures. Climate change is not a concept created to manipulate Christians or any other group, but rather it is a scientific fact that has been extensively researched and documented. The evidence for climate change is robust and comes from multiple lines of evidence, including temperature records, shrinking ice sheets, glacier retreat, and shifts in the timing of seasonal events. The scientific consensus on climate change is clear, with approximately 97% of climate scientists agreeing that human-caused climate change is real. Some argue that climate change is a natural phenomenon and that the current warming trend is part of a natural cycle. However, this argument ignores the fact that the current rate of warming is unprecedented in the past 10,000 years. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has increased by about 40% since the Industrial Revolution, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels and land use changes. This increase in carbon dioxide is the main driver of the current warming trend, and it is not a natural phenomenon. The claim that climate change science is a lie to manipulate Christians is often linked to the idea that environmentalism is a form of paganism or idolatry. Some argue that the emphasis on environmental protection and the reverence for the natural world is a form of worship, which is contrary to Christian teachings. However, this argument is based on a flawed understanding of Christianity and environmentalism. Christianity teaches the concept of stewardship, which emphasizes the responsibility of humans to care for and protect the natural world. This concept is not in conflict with the idea of environmental protection, but rather it is in line with the biblical teachings on the importance of responsible management of God's creation. Furthermore, the idea that climate change science is a lie to manipulate Christians ignores the fact that many Christians are actively engaged in environmental protection and climate change mitigation efforts. The Christian community has a long history of advocating for social justice and protecting the vulnerable, and climate change is no exception. Many Christian organizations and churches are working to raise awareness about climate change, reduce their carbon footprint, and promote sustainable practices. In addition, the claim that climate change science is a lie to manipulate Christians is often linked to conspiracy theories about a new world order or a one-world government. Some argue that the push for climate change mitigation and sustainable development is a ploy to impose a socialist or communist ideology on the world. However, this argument is baseless and ignores the fact that climate change is a global problem that requires a global response. The international community has come together to address climate change through agreements such as the Paris Agreement, which aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. In conclusion, the science on climate change is not a lie to manipulate Christians. The evidence for climate change is robust and comes from multiple lines of evidence. The scientific consensus on climate change is clear, and it is not a concept created to impose a particular ideology or worldview. Christians have a responsibility to care for the natural world and protect the vulnerable, and climate change mitigation efforts are in line with these biblical teachings. It is essential to approach the issue of climate change with a critical and nuanced perspective, recognizing the complexities and challenges involved, rather than relying on misinformation and conspiracy theories.